ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. O Lord, please lead us from unreal to the reality, ignorance to the knowledge, and from death to immortality. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, if you remember the last class, maybe 15 days before, we had discussed different type of samadhis, which is particular to Samprajnata Samadhi. If I use as a recapitulation, we discussed four types of Samprajnata Samadhi. In Samprajnata Samadhi, mainly there is an alambana. Alambana means there is a support in the meditation process. I use an object, an image as a support during my meditation. That is what it calls Samprajnat Samadhi. In that, Vitarka Samadhi, the first type. So, contemplation on any gross physical object. It can be water, it can be sky, it can be a flower, or it can be a sound. So, basically, any physical objects, basically, gross objects. And interestingly, one of the commentator called Vijnana Bhikshu, basically he was a Vaishnavite and he was a great devotee. And this Vijnana Bhikshu says that contemplation on the God with form is roughly, it is called Vitarka Samadhi. Means it's a part of Samprajnana Samadhi. So in the after Vitarka, it comes Vichara. So in the Vichara Samadhi, it is contemplation on the subtle elements. Like they say, it is tanmatras. We all know, if you know the theory of causation in the Vedanta and the Sankhyan cosmology, from the Mahat, it comes Asmita, from the Asmita you get tanmatras to Panchabhutas. Tanmatras are subtle elements, or you can say microscopic elements. So it is meditation on the subtle part or the microscopic elements of the object. And also here they say the radiations or the energy levels, even also we can try to meditate. And here Vijnana Bhikshu says that instead of worshipping or meditating the God on the form, if you try to worship on the God's nature or character, basically, Guna Dhyana we say. Guna Dhyana, God's character, this is what Vichara Samadhi from the devotional point of view. Now, if you see, there's a one quite interesting point of the development. From the gross level, the mind is trying to concentrate on the subtle elements. So, how there's a gradual step by step process which has been put scientifically in the yogic tradition, in the Patanjali yogic tradition. And these are also was practiced by Buddha, and similar steps also can be seen very clearly with the different names and variants in the Buddhism also. So many times when we try to do meditation, we are not able to concentrate. Why? Our mind is not prepared there. So here, Samadhi again, it is the eighth limb, eighth part of the Ashtanga Yoga, if you say. So why we are not able to meditate? Because we have not practiced, what do you say, control on the mind or the sense organs, shamadama, uparati, titiksha, or samadhana, or whatever, or otherwise yama niyama. Then asana has not been done, pranayama has not participated, dharana, dhyana has not been practiced, or not achieved. Then we are trying directly to go to meditation and we want to achieve concentration or absorption, which is not possible. So to do the Samprajna, the Samadhi, according to the Patanjali and the other commentators, we have to prepare our mind. Interestingly, Swami Yatishvanji says in his book called Meditation and Spiritual Life, if you have to meditate for half an hour, you have to prepare your mind for 23 and a half hours. Means very conscious life, we have to do that. Then only Samadhi is possible. Otherwise, in the name of dhyana, in the name of samadhi, at the most, we are all trying to do dharana. What do I mean dharana? Means we are trying to control the mind, we are trying to fix the mind on the desired object. I sat for meditation for half an hour. Say, for an example, I'm trying to meditate on the flower, rose flower. So when I started, few seconds or few moments, I was able to visualize the rose flower. Afterwards, it went somewhere. Maybe the problem or the discussion in the family life, or in the professional life, or in the public life, or something happened, or I heard some sound. Mind went there. So that's what it keeps on happening. That's where they say 144 seconds. If I can concentrate on a particular object without second thought, second, what do you say, second vritti, then I have achieved dhyana. Now, 144 into 12, if I have achieved, then it is roughly 5 minutes, you can say. 5 minutes, if I can meditate or absorb on one thought, then I have attained Samprajnata Samadhi according to the Patanjali or the different commentators. So until otherwise we prepare our mind, we cannot do the meditation, we cannot have the Samadhi. So here, after achieving the concentration, still in Samprajnat Samadhi, the Patanjali is asking us to meditate, concentrate on the gross objects. Then when you achieve that, then he's asking us to go to the next step, that is on the concentration on the subtle objects, that is the Vichara Samadhi. And in the Vitarka and Vichara, again there are two: Savitarka, Nirvitarka, Savichara, and Nirvichara. Then afterwards, the third type of the Samprajna Samadhi, which we discussed in the last time, it is Ananda Samadhi. Ananda Samadhi here is the concentration on the Ananda happiness. Here, the happiness, not the pure happiness, rather it is a reflected consciousness, we can say roughly. Means the consciousness which is reflected in the mind. For example, I am enjoying the ice cream, so I'm happy. Now, the content of my happiness is what ice cream there. So we are not speaking of that Ananda here. Ananda is what? The consciousness which is reflected in the mind, the happiness which we get, that is called reflected consciousness, that is called Ananda. So this is the third step. So absorption in the gross objects, then absorption in the subtle objects. Now I am enabling my mind to absorb or to concentrate on the reflected consciousness or the happiness derived from the Purusha, derived from the self. So here the Vachaspati Mishra is again one of the great philosopher. He argues that here the yogi transfer the awareness from the external objects, to the organs themselves. And here he says that he has transcended even the power of senses and the power of energy and etc. So mind becomes aware of the internal organ, which is called Golaka, more or less in Vedanta. So here the awareness which is reflected in the chitta or in the mind is what? The Ananda. So it is a state of blissful absorption. So sattva dominates and rajas and tamas has been not eliminated but minimized. So tamas and rajas is very minimal and rajas is dominant in this Ananda Samadhi according to the Vachaspati Mishra. And there is a one disclaimer notice here. Very interestingly, in Taittiriya Upanishad also, Shankaracharya says similar way. So here the commentators say yogis or the practitioners should not mistake that this is the ultimate goal of the life. It is a happiness, it is a state of happiness, no doubt, but that is not the original happiness. There's a reflected consciousness. So it is not the ultimate goal. Why? If you see, it may be a very subtle, but still there is a vritti, there is a thought. So there is a thought which is contained, which is connected with, or which is related to the reflected consciousness. So mind is active, and there's a still thought is there, which I am, because of which I am able to experience that reflected consciousness. So that is not the ultimate in itself. And the fourth is very interesting, is Asmita Samadhi, which is the fourth type in the Samprajnata Samadhi. Now, in Asmita Samadhi is what? The ego. Now, here we have to take it very carefully. Ego is not the pseudo ego. When I say I, so this I is referred to body mind complex. I'm like, oh, I am good, I am bad. I am intelligent, I am dull. or I'm CEO of the company, I'm the manager of the company, I am the successful entrepreneur. When we say I, this I is connected with body mind, or I is connected with my actions, I is connected with my feelings, I is connected with my thoughts and all. So here Asmita, ego means not this I. Rather, this I is connected with the self. The self, which are the Purusha, which is understood in the consciousness, sorry, in the buddhi, in the intellect or in the chitta, is what called Asmita. So when the Purusha, when he gets identified with the Prakriti, here that's the mind or buddhi, there the notion of individuality comes. That individuality is called Asmita, which is a subtle concept. So here the point of object or the object of concentration is what Asmita. The notion of I-ness, which is not pure I here, again the I which is reflected in the ego reflected in the mind or the buddhi particularly. So here, mind has transcended all the external objects and all the internal organs of cognition. But here, buddhi or the mind is focusing, reflecting on the just buddhi in the which is the vritti called asmita or the purusha. I. So the awareness plus the awareness reflected in the buddhi is what the asmita, that is the ego. And this ego is not connected to the body. This ego is not connected to the mind. Mind in the sense, I-ness and minus are not with any object or with the universe or the world. It is this I-ness is just reflected in the mind. Just like you say, a simple guileless child. In the simple guileless child, there is no, what you say, residues actually. For example, the baby cries, or the baby says, I will not come with you, I will not go with him, I will not go with her. But in next moment, the baby forgets and it starts behaving differently. So there is no residue left in the child's mind. So here also, this is there is no residue left here. It is only the pure awareness which is reflected in the mind or the chitta or the buddhi, that the sense of ego or the individuality, so-called pure individuality. This is what called asmita, and the mind is concentrating on this I-ness or the reflected consciousness sort of. So that's where asmita has been translated into I amness. I amness. So if you see again, it is getting more and more subtle and more deep actually. But here, till here, if you see, mind is active, but not so many thoughts. There is only single thought, and but the content of the meditation, subject of the meditation, content of the meditation is becoming more and more finer, and more and more becoming internal. Now, after this Samprajna Samadhi is achieved. Then they say that even though these four types of Samadhi is achieved, that is not the end of the yoga path. Why? It is yoga's chittavritti nirodha. Nirodha is what? Complete cessation of all the thoughts. Here there is only single thought, no doubt, but it is not completely free from the thoughts. Now, so from this Samprajna Samadhi, when you achieve, from here, you will be, this is a Samprajna Samadhi, it is also called Sabija Samadhi. Now, the question might come, why? Because when I am able to concentrate completely, no disturbance or whatever, and I'm able to concentrate on particular object, and here just mere happiness, or pure awareness, or rather the awareness which is reflected in the mind or buddhi, if I'm able to concentrate, then why not? It is the end of the yoga. So why? Because they say here mind has been purified, no doubt. Mind is able to concentrate, no doubt, but still the latent impressions are there in the subconscious mind. At given point of time, it might come and it might sprout. I mean, they give an example like this. For example, I've got a paddy. As a paddy was grown in my field. Then I stored in in the store. After 2 or 3 years, if I put the paddy in the water in a few hours, and if I take it, what happens? The paddy will sprout. So the germination power was in there in the paddy. So like this, even if I attain the asmita samadhi, then the latent impressions, the samskaras, has not been completely wiped out or burnt out. As a result, at any point of time, it can come out and it will lead into my next birth, or into transmigration of cycle, or into the cycle of birth and death. That's where it is not the end. So that's why it is called Sampragnata, Samyak Pragna, and it is Sabija. Means still the impressions are been left in the subconscious mind. So from Sampragnata Samadhi, so the Patanjali and the yoga path, it says we should switch over to Asampragnata Samadhi. Asampragnata means there is no vritti at all, there is no thought at all. Mind being completely inactive, and it is latter state of blankness. So when we achieve that, then what happens? All the latent impressions, even which is hidden in the conscious or subconscious mind, everything will be burnt out. Then what happens? Then there will be no more birth and death, and that is the final aim, goal of the Patanjali Yoga. That is called Asampragnata Samadhi or Nirbija Samadhi. Nirbija means what? Burnt. Just I was giving the example of the paddy. Now, for example, you burn the paddy. Sorry, if you fry the paddy or you boil the paddy and you keep and you dry it and you keep it. After few days or few months, if you sow that boiled paddy, it will never germinate. Why? Because the power of germination has been removed by boiling the paddy. So that's how in the Asampragnata Samadhi, when we enter, the mind gets completely boiled out, burnt out. So the term of germination, the power of germination, will not be there. So what is that? We will see in the 18th sutra. Virama pratyabhyasa purvaha samskara shesho anyaha. So till now I discussed only Sampragnat Samadhi, which I was discussed in the last class. So it was a recapitulation. Now I am discussing about the Asampragnata Samadhi. Virama means termination or cessation. Pratyaya means notion or the thought. Abhyasa purva, previous practice. Samskaraha, mental imprints or memories, subconscious impressions. Anya Sheshaha means reminder, Anya means other. Very interestingly, in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, he doesn't use the word directly Asampragnata Samadhi in any sutra actually. Only the commentators, when he uses the word Anya, the other, the commentators, they bring out the Asamprajna Samadhi. When Patanjali uses the word Anya means here it is Asamprajna Samadhi or Nirbija Samadhi, they bring it out. So the other Samadhi, that is Asamprajna Samadhi, is preceded by cultivating the determination to terminate all thoughts completely. In this state only, latent impressions remain. Means it is in the Dagda Bija Avastha, they say. Let us try to understand. Now, if you see Sampragnata Samadhi, mind was involved. And an object was involved. Either it is a grass or subtle or subtler or subtlest, an object of meditation was involved. In Asampragnat Samadhi, mind is not there. It is beyond the mind. It is beyond thoughts and it is beyond words. That is the reason probably the Patanjali, the Sutrakara, he never used the word Asampragnata. He only said Anyaha. Anya means what? Other. Other means what? Asampragnata Samadhi. Why? Probably he understood that it is beyond the conceptualization and descriptive or categorical or nomenclatures, basically. Like, which reminds me, the Mandukya Upanishad, the fourth stage, which we call Turiya. So, like this. Okay. Now, in the Asampragnata Samadhi, what happens? First and foremost, there is no alambana, there is no support. In the Samprang Samadhi, either it was a gross object, it was a subtle object, or it was it was a joy, or it was an ego, pure ego. But here there is nothing, no dependency or no support, no alambana. First one is. The second is in Asampragnata Samadhi, the Purusha exists as it is. I mean, it is the state of pure awareness. And here the Purusha and Prakriti gets differentiated or gets separated. Because when there is no mind, when mind becomes inactive, that means when there is no mind, then there is no Prakriti available for Purusha. So the Purusha gets separated from Prakriti. This is what the Nirodha or the ultimate goal of Patanjali Yoga Sutra or the Patanjali Yoga or the Sankhya Yoga also. So here, Purusha is not aware of any object, either internal object or external object. And Purusha is not aware of any thought, Purusha is not aware of any feelings, Purusha is not aware of any emotions. Why? Because mind itself is inactive, mind itself is not available. So the Purusha is not available for any transactions. Then what happens to Purusha? Purusha stays in his own real nature. Now, Purusha is just a pure awareness. If you think this as a person, then you say, how can he be there without thinking anything, without staying on anything? So here, Purusha is just pure awareness, pure consciousness. So in this state, so it is everything has been burnt out. Means the seed of germination, the power of germination, which I said, impression, samskaras has been completely burnt out. Even a person after Asamprajnanata Samadhi, if he comes down, then he will not have any more birth and death. That will be his last life, and no more new desires will come, or no binding factor will be there for such a yogi. So this is the ultimate goal of the Patanjala yoga. And also, I think in one of the commentator gives a beautiful example. Now there is a rope. Rope has got a binding power. Now there was a rope, and rope caught a fire. Rope caught a fire, and rope is burnt out, no doubt, completely or more or less. Rope has been burnt out, but still, in whichever form it was there, same form is there. Now, without knowing a person, it has been burnt out. Without knowing, he went to fetch it. Then he says he cannot bring the rope out. It will be what you say, it will be like ash, it will be powdered or powdered into ashes or whatever. So that binding power has been lost because of the burnt state. So similarly, the mind will be burnt here, no samskaras will be left out. So no more birth and no more death. And here, there's a very quite interesting discussions happens among the commentators. Then they say how this Asamprajnata Samadhi is achieved, attained. If you say then Ashtanga Yoga has been practiced, mind has been prepared, then from Dharana, mind was tried to fix on the mind, then Dhyana we achieved, or a yogi achieved where he is fixing his mind on particular object. Then afterwards, in Subpragnal Samadhi, step by step, he came. And now there's only single thought, maybe just awareness or just maybe happiness and all. Okay. But there's a only single thought, and the content is only one, no doubt. From this state, how does he enters to Asampragnat Samadhi, where there is no completion, where there is no thought at all? The commentator says that this switching over from Sampragnat Samadhi, Asampragnat Samadhi, it happens like this. Just you take one tan and you remove the tan which was stuck in your feet or a hand wherever during your walking in the forest. So similarly, the yogi, he forces his mind with one thought that I want to remove all the thoughts, or I want to remove even a thought from my mind. There may be one thought, no doubt, even I want to remove it, I want to suppress it, I want to clear it. So the termination of the thought, making the mind bland, he infuses this thought, and with the practice, he will be able to suppress it, so that the mind becomes inactive. Then the question might come, okay, removal of thought is also a thought, isn't it? They say yes. Removal of thought is also a thought, no doubt. But with this thought, they'll be able to suppress the mind by the practice. And that's why it is called Asampragnat Samadhi, is also known as Virama Pratyaya. Virama Pratyaya means, so the self is taking rest. Self is taking rest means what? Self is in his consciousness, in his own nature. He's not busy, he's not involved in anything. That's what we mean. So, and if you ask, okay, now a person is in Asampragnat Samadhi, if he comes back, will he be able to see the world as he used to see earlier? If you ask, scripture says very clearly, yes. As a human being, because he has got mind and sense organs and all, before going to Asamprajna Samadhi, how he used to perceive the water or the fire or the gold or the wall or the computer, even the similar way he will be perceiving it, no doubt, as a human body and with a mind and organs. But the concept of reality or the desire for it, the desire for enjoying them, all of them will be removed. And not only that, no, the pancha kleshas, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, no reactions will be born from that type of mind. So he'll be seeing the things, he'll be enjoying, I mean, he'll be seeing everything as it is, but he doesn't react anything. Because there is no reaction, so no binding factor for such a person. So samskara shesha, that is, samskara shesha is achieved. Samskara shesha means impressions remain latent, means they don't have any binding factor. Klesha karma and all absent. And when it is happened, then what happens? That will be his final last birth, and he will not have any more birth and death. Then how far he will stay there? For that, I think I mean, very clearly we don't get any answers in the Patanjali Yoga. In some other text, they say till his prarabdha karma is there, he stays back. Once his prarabdha karma is out, then he will leave the body, and he will not return. Now, his very interesting part in the 19th Sutra is there is a resemblance of yoga. It is called Yoga Abhasa, has been discussed in the next sutra. So there are people, oh, I am very spiritual. I have realized the God. I have experienced the God. I have attained Samadhi. Such statements we hear from some people. But afterwards, when we see their life, see their character, see their conduct, we understand it is not so. So, regarding this yoga abhasa, resemblance of yoga, the people who have achieved this resemblance of yoga has been discussed in the 19th sutra. Very interesting. We will try to discuss. Bhava videha prakriti layanam means for some who are unembodied and those who are merged in matter, the state of Asamprajnanata samadhi is by absorption in state of matter prakriti. Means they have not achieved the nirodha state. What does it mean? Probably you have to understand two technical words here. One is the Patanjali is mentioning about videha, and the second is prakriti laya. Videha means vigatam deha, one who has lost this gross body, physical body. So for us, for the world, he has been dead basically. He has been dead. He has lost his physical body, but he is staying in the subtle body. So he is also called unembodied being for one type of person. The second is called Prakriti Laya. Prakriti Laya means who have merged in the matter, who have merged in the subtle elements. They are called Prakriti Laya. Now we will try to discuss. So they are quasi perfect yogis who maintain their self identity committed with the material existence. How, how to understand this? For example, the celestial beings, yakshas, kinnaras, gandharvas, some devatas. Devatas means gods and goddesses with a small g, they all come under videhas actually. They don't have their gross body, physical body, but they have got their subtle body. Through subtle body, they're enjoying the world, they're experiencing the world, they're experiencing different types of pleasures. But they have attained some perfection, they have attained good amount of concentration, they have attained some special powers also, but they have not reached the ultimate goal, that is Asamprajnanata Samadhi. Now, why this happens? Because in the path of yoga practices, they may get some special powers and their mind gets fixed in that, and they think that this is the ultimate goal of life. Or rather, they want to enjoy that state itself. They will say, okay, this asamprajna samadhi, which is quite probably boring because it is no thought, no experience, so let it be so, but let me enjoy it. So the sensible and very subtle pleasures which is available for people, so they may get stuck there. They are called videhas. So they will have some special powers. So they can walk, they can see what will happen, like clairvoyance, and they can go to the above worlds or below worlds. Like different special powers has been discussed in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. They get that, but they don't have physical body, they have gross bodies. So they can enjoy, they will experience the different type of pleasures at given point of time. Then after some time means like it can be 10 years, it can be 100 years, it can be thousands years, no doubt. Then afterwards their impressions which was in their subconscious mind, it comes out, and because of that again they will take birth as human beings probably, and they will continue their life from their from wherever they had stopped their sadhana. They are called videyas. And the other type of people is called Praktilaya Purushas. Praktilaya Purushas, they have merged their self identity with the Prakriti or the matter. If you know the Sankhyan cosmology, which accepts even Patanjali yoga also, from the Mahat it comes uh, Asmita. From the Asmita you get mind. From the mind you will get Tanmatras. From Tanmatras you get Panchabhutas. So here this Prakrutilaya Purushas with the special yogic sadhanas, they merge themselves with the either maybe with the fire, maybe with the water, with the sky, with the space, or with the Asmita, or with the Mula Prakruti. They keep their individual existence and they merge with their subtle elements, which is quite interesting. And they will be experiencing the world, or they'll be experiencing the subtle pleasures, subtle happiness quite a good amount of time. They are called Prakrtilaya Purushas. When we discuss these things or when we read, it looks very esoteric in nature. But you can very well quite, I mean, understand and astonished when I was reading all these things. Even in Vayu Purana, it has been discussed very in detail. Uh, how they were able to think and how they were able to experience all these things. So probably a good amount of people have made experiments actually. So when we see in Vayu Purana, Ramayana, Mahabharata and all, so we see that an Yaksha was there in a particular form, staying in the tree for hundreds of years, thousands of years, or maybe in the stone, maybe in the water and all. So these are all called Prakrutilaya Purushas. So these two things has been discussed by Patanjali, and he says, be careful in the practice, in the path of yoga or in the path of spirituality. Otherwise, you might miss the ultimate goal. Because when we are doing the sadhanas, when we advance in spiritual life, we get some special powers, which is called siddhis. But if we might get stuck there and we might miss the ultimate goal. So that is the reason we have to be careful. And I think in the Vayu Purana, they very quite interestingly they mention. I mean, we may not take it literally, but probably we will think we can take that if you get identified with this type of thing. So we have to come back and we have to again start our life. That's what more important. So if a person has identified himself with the sense organ, which is subtle in the nature, internal sense organ, I mean, then he will stay enjoying that subtle pleasure for the time, the duration of the 10 manus, it seems. Again, if you go to in Purana, one manu will be thousands of years. So 10 manus, how much the duration, so much time in the subtle level he will stay in the subtle body and he will be enjoying the pleasures. And if someone identifies himself capable of identifying itself with the tanmatras, subtle elements, he will be enjoying that subtle pleasure for the 100 periods of manus, it seems. If someone gets merged with the ahankara, with the asmita, then he will get around 10,000. Then if someone merges with the prakriti, the till the end of the mahapralaya, that is 100,000 manus time, one can enjoy this. Then people might say, oh, that's good. Instead of having a realization or the experience, or I mean, Asamprajnanata Samadhi, why can't I stay and enjoy? The question might come for some of us if they say, if you ask that, then the Patanjali and the commentators say, if you want to enjoy in the subtle way for such a long time, and again, if you have to come back and you have to study kindergarten, start your kindergarten and all, you are welcome. Or if you don't want, no more coming back and no more in this, I don't want to be in the transmigration cycle of birth and death, then they say, better you practice and attain Asamprajnata Samadhi. And very quite interesting is how subtle things and all they have discussed and they were able to experience and they were able to know all these things 2000 or 3000 or 5000 years before, which is quite interesting. Now, after discussing this, so the Patanjali gives 4 or 5 sadhanas through which one can attain Asamprajnata Samadhi. One is completely cessation of all the thoughts, no doubt. That how it can be achieved. So he is giving 4 or 5 types of sadhanas, practices by which one can achieve. What they are in the 20th Sutra, let us try to understand. Shraddha, Virya, Smruti, Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham. Shraddha. Shraddha, there is no equal translation for Shraddha actually in the Sanskrit. Shraddha, we say faith, or at the most we can say, take it Shraddha as faith. Virya, vigor. Smruti, memory. Samadhi, absorption. Prajna means discernment. Prajna Purvaka, preceded by discernment. Itaresham, for others. So, Now, it has been given five means by Patanjali by which yogi can attain Asamprajnata Samadhi. There are five means given by Patanjali through which one can attain Asamprajnata Samadhi. Now, Shraddha means what? It is not just mere faith or mere belief, rather, faith or belief backed with the practice. When my faith has been translated into action, that is what called Shraddha. I think Swami Brahmanandji, I think he gives a beautiful example for the Shraddha, though it's not a very good example. Like a thief was he was walking in the road. He heard from a person who was inside the house. He was conversing with one of his friend or a relative or maybe family person that, look, in our house we have got so much gold, so much money or whatever. Then the person, he was a thief and he was just passing by. He hears. And do you think that the thief can stay happily, can stay peacefully, and can stay calmly? He can never. He immediately starts thinking, how can I mean, go into their house and how can I get the gold or how can I get the money? And he doesn't not only thinks, he becomes restless. He tries in such a way that he wants to get that gold or money into his hands. He wants to become the owner of it. So similarly, when I say God exists, when I say I would like to attain Asamprajnat Samadhi, yeah, that is true and all. I believe in that, no doubt. Mere belief it should not be. That belief is practiced, it has been translated into action. That state is called Shraddha. So through having a Shraddha, one can attain Asamprajnata Samadhi. That is faith backed with the practice. And some, commentators also give different explanations for Shraddha. One of the commentator gives the explanation for Shraddha is clarity of mind and clarity of thought and goal and path and results. So, what is the spiritual path which I am taking? And what is the goal? And what is the means? What is the ups and downs and possibilities, pros and cons? And what do I get it? So, I have got a complete clarity about it, and I've tread this path. That is also called Shraddha. And Shankaracharya discusses in Viveka Chudamani as Shraddha means it is the belief in the scriptures, scriptural statements, and the Guru's teachings. They say that, like, what do you say, Satya Buddhyavada Sa Shraddha Katita Sad. शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य या शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य सत्यबुद्ध्यवधारणं सा श्रद्धा कथिता सद्भि यय वस्तु उपलभ्यते. If you want to achieve the goal only by having the faith in the scriptures and also in the guru statements, then only it is possible, Shankaracharya says in Vivek Chudamani. And interestingly, I think in Patanjali or Vyasa in his commentary, he says it's a positive attitude. Shraddha means it is a positive attitude. And also Vyasa says in his commentary, faith is, the Shraddha is like the benevolent mother. How the mother protects the child, how she protects and nourishes the child. Similarly, Shraddha protects and nourishes the spiritual aspirant. So through Shraddha is one of the means by which one can attain the Asamprajnata Samadhi. Okay. And from this faith, because I have got a faith in that, and which rises to this five sadhanas are not independent in nature, rather it is connected to each other, according to the commentators. Why? Because if you've got a Shraddha and if you start doing it, this Shraddha will lead to the Virya. Virya means what? Vigor or energetic endeavor. Means I want to attain the Asamprajna Samadhi in the Patanjali Yoga accordingly. I want to attain Samprajna Samadhi, Asamprajna Samadhi, because I believe in the Patanjali Yoga's teachings, Patanjali's teachings. So I have faith in them, so and I will put into practice. So I have got enthusiasm in practicing this, achieving this. That positive enthusiasm with vigor is what? Virya. So Virya, by Virya means vigor or positive energetic endeavor by which one can attain samadhi. Because basically it is called self-effort or purusha prayatna. And this virya will give rise to smriti. Smriti means, just translation of smriti is what? Memory. Here, the Vyasa again gives an interesting description about this, or the analysis is what? Undisturbed mind. Smriti means undisturbed mind, means concentrated mind. And Shankaracharya says Smriti means the memory which is developed by the study of the scriptures. By not only by study, by contemplation, by reflection, continuously from that which we get an understanding, convictions, that is called smruti. And Vachaspati Mishra says that one who is always aware and one who is always trying to achieve the goal in such type of sensitive, sensible, conscious mind is called the virya, according to the Vachaspati Mishra. And Swami Vivekananda, he discusses that in the way that is an incredible memory. And this Shraddha to Virya, Virya to Smruti, and the Smruti produces, Smruti creates the Prajna. Prajna means it is a discernment or ability to see things as it is, basically. So, ability to discern between the Purusha and Prakriti. For example, in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in Kshetrajna Yogna, very clearly this says, Kshetragnam chapi mam viddi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Know that you are the kshetragna, and this body and this world, everything is what? Kshetra, the field. The body is the field, and also the world or the universe is the field, and you are the fielder, that is what? The kshetragna, that is the consciousness or the awareness. So one who is very clear about I am the kshetragna and not the kshetra, that clarity in thought, discernment, or ability to differentiate and know things as it is called prajna. And when this is achieved, so one will attain Samprajnanata Samadhi. And afterwards, he tells, well, I am meditating. I am trying to meditate. I am trying to concentrate, or I am trying to practice all the spiritual practices which we see. But in spite of that, I am not able to attain a Samprajnata Samadhi. I am not able to attain spiritual progress. Why it is so? This type of question, it haunts all of our minds, devotees or aspirants. Why it is has been told in the 21st Sutra. He gives a very interesting analysis, which we most of us we know. So we will try to discuss in the next class in the 21st Sutra. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.